What problems are you dealing with in your life right now?
Do you feel like giving up? Times are hard and you're not strong. Well, I know the answer for you, and it will lead to real truth. Don't look back to yesterday.
Now there are answers.
Tomorrow's on the
Welcome to
way.
Live Prayer.
It's waiting there for you.
Here's your host, Bill.
And welcome to Live Prayer. I am Bill Keller. It is good to be with you on this Thursday evening. I pray you had a wonderful day. It's good to be back together again. If you're new to the program, you're watching Live Prayer. We come to you live in living color every Monday through Friday, 11 to midnight Eastern Daylight Time, wherever you're watching me right now throughout this great land of ours, from sea to shining sea, from no border up north to no border down south. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Friends in other far-off great lands, welcome to you as well. Once again, I am Bill Keller, founder of Liveprayer.com, world's largest interactive Christian website. Reach a little over 2.5 million folks each and every day via the internet. Please check us out online. Web address coming up on your screen, Liveprayer.com, Liveprayer.com. So I pray you had a good Thursday as we're working our way through another week. And I've got a big program for you tonight. This is one of those nights you need to hang on, dig your fingernails into the chair, hold on tight. My note takers, it's going to be a busy night for you, but this is a program that you're going to want to have other people watch, and you may even want to rewatch just because there's going to be a lot of information coming at you tonight, a lot of really important information. So sit back, enjoy the program, and I hope you learn a lot tonight, really. 4 things I should do for me each night on the program. First, pray for me in the program. Thank you for doing that. Second of all, of course, share with people you know the daily devotional. Encourage them to sign up. It's easy to do. Just go to the home page, upper right-hand corner, click on the sign up link. Couple pieces of basic information, 2-step process. Very quick process. They'll start getting it in their email every morning, free like everything at Live Prayer. Third, of course, continue to tell people how to watch this program. And this, again, is a program that you will want to tell people to watch. And last of all, if this ministry has been a blessing to you, please pray about supporting us. I don't do tours. I don't do cruises. I don't sell things. We're a ministry, not a marketing company. And we've been here for 30 years now, 24 online, 20 on TV, because of friends like you who pray faithfully, give faithfully. And if you want to support the ministry, upper right-hand corner of the homepage, again, there's a donation link. When you click on it, it gives you our address in St. Petersburg, Florida. If you want to put a check in the mail, also a link to our credit card portal, if that is more convenient. Thank you. Let's pray. We got a lot to get to tonight. Father, thank you for tonight. Thank you for this opportunity to gather together once again. Even after 20 years, Lord, we never want to take even one program for granted. So thank you for tonight. Thank you for my friends who have joined tonight. I lift them up. I lift up their families. Pray for their needs to be met. Lord, tonight we ask that you bless us during this hour to help us to understand and know the things we need to know. Thank you for this day, the blessings we've enjoyed. And now, Lord, this hour is yours. Use it for your glory. Speak to our hearts. We ask and pray in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Let me start off tonight with obviously some sad information. But as the day went on, you know, I went from sad to really angry. As you have probably heard, the 5 explorers that were going down in that little mini submarine down to the Titanic wreck, it's been confirmed that they're dead. And it looks like, thankfully, for them, it looked like it was instantaneous. It looked like, for whatever reason, whatever may have caused it, the whole craft just blew into pieces. And from the people experts I've heard talk about it, it would have been an event that they wouldn't have even had a moment to think about it, to realize what happened. It would have been that instantaneous. And again, if they were gonna die, much better that way than being down there stuck on something, oxygen's running out. I mean, just dying minute by minute. So sad. Now, let me tell you what made me angry. For those of you who are military buffs, you probably know this. Our country, like most countries, we have got special sensors, our military does, on the ocean floor. And this has been something that's come about in the last 20, 25 years as technology has gotten more developed. These sensors are there to detect any kind of submarine or foreign craft or missiles or something like that heading our way, right? The technology is so good now. These new generations of submarine, they make no noise. A lot of them are almost, they're masked. You can't see them on sonar. You can't see them on radar. I mean, they're very sophisticated. And apparently the military relies on these special sound sensors located on the ocean floor to help them be aware if something foreign is heading our way. Okay? I mean, that's a simple explanation, and I'm sure people who may have military experience understand this in a much deeper form, but that's the basic gist of it, okay? We found out today, hours after we learned of the craft being imploded and the 5 deaths, that Navy intelligence actually knew it imploded within probably about an hour and a half after it was launched on Sunday. Now, this was a leak, okay? And I assume it was a leak from somebody that was getting very upset because apparently Navy intelligence knew this craft was blown up Sunday. This is Friday. And we've spent the entire week hanging on every news report, every update. Lots of prayers have been going up, praying that somehow, some way, these people would be found alive and rescued. But our Navy intelligence knew this craft was decimated within a couple hours after it was launched on Sunday. And this goes back to what I've continued to tell you about this administration. Everything they do is a scam. Now, why did we hear about this today? Well, we're going to get to this in a minute. I don't want to hit it right now, but we're going to get to this in a minute. Today, we had the unveiling of 2 top-level IRS whistleblowers. And what we learned today was not surprising for anybody who's been following how this government has been weaponized over the last 7 years. But in a way, it was chilling. And I'm going to get into that whole situation. Just you know what? Let me just go there now. Okay, let me go there now. This, of course, has to do with the Hunter Biden crimes, and those crimes, of course, were committed as a part of a whole scheme of crimes by the Biden family, including Joe. Okay? We found out today from these whistleblowers some chilling things. We now know they had the laptop back in October of 2019. Now, the most recent reports we had, the government did ultimately verify the laptop as being real sometime in the spring, the early part of 2020. No, we found out today from these whistleblowers They knew the laptop was legitimate within an hour. Somehow they were able to take some of the emails, match them up with some cloud services, and they knew within an hour that laptop was legit, and they knew that laptop contained just almost an unlimited number of criminal offenses. Now, let me remind you something, and this name's going to come up a lot tonight. Bill Barr. Who was the Attorney General back then? Oh, that'd be Bill Barr. Bill Barr knew about this laptop, yet they deep sixed that laptop. They shut it down, and it was taken out of circulation. There is absolutely no way that that happened without the knowledge of Attorney General Bill Barr. Okay? What we learned today from these whistleblowers was what we've pretty much known, but it's been verified now, 100% cover-up of the Biden family corruption. We have an email where Hunter Biden, in an encrypted email that was cleaned up, was threatening a Chinese business associate for not sending whatever money he was supposed to send on time. And Hunter Biden sounded like some kind of a mob guy, telling this guy that, you know, you need to take care of this, you need to take care of this tonight. I don't know why you haven't done this yet. And then he said some profound things. And I'm sitting here with the man. The man, of course, was his father. And he later in that email, in that text message, said, "My father is here with me." Now, you remember, I'm sure, Joe Biden, I don't know anything about Hunter Biden. And it's been verified tonight through some people who are finally starting to do a little bit of investigative journalism, of course, not the corporate media, that they've been able to verify that Joe Biden was with Hunter Biden on that very night. Okay? We also know from these whistleblowers that Merrick Garland, our Attorney General, committed perjury. He's been before Congress several times, stating that he has given the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, Weiss, complete autonomy, whatever he needed, charge whatever you want. There's no restrictions on that, right? He's stated that at least 2 times under oath to Congress. Well, we know that's a lie. Weiss tried to bring a series of fairly serious charges against Hunter. In California, at first, California refused to play ball. Then he went to D.C. Matthew Graves, the D.C. U.S. Attorney, who's also running all this January 6th stuff, he refused to let Weiss charge him in D.C. Weiss then asked to be named as a special counsel, and he was turned down. They tried to get a search warrant because they knew Hunter Biden had a storage unit where they pretty much figured out that there were a lot of his business records. Search warrant was shot down by the upper echelon at the DOJ. They also sat on all of this information. People keep saying, these are such easy crimes to, they're so obvious. Why did it take 5 years? Well, in all this time, they were basically stonewalling and shutting things down. They let the statute of limitations run on about $4 million of taxes Hunter Biden didn't pay. In other words, statute of limitations is run. They can't charge him with that now. That was part of the effort to stonewall, let as much time go by as possible, because a lot of this stuff starts falling off after 5, 6, 7 years. Joe Biden is done. I am telling you tonight, Joe Biden is done. There is no way. I mean, this is starting to just be too voluminous now. And again, this isn't a bunch of, internet trolls. This isn't the New York Post. This isn't, Breitbart News. This isn't Fox News or Newsmax. I mean, these are career top executive IRS investigators that blew this whistle. And I'll tell you tonight, the reason that they dumped those, those few charges that they did this week on Hunter is because they knew that sometime this week these whistleblower the testimony from these whistleblowers, it was going to be released. The transcripts are going to be released. And because I have no confidence in this administration, because I think the worst, because 99% of the time it is the worst, I think the reason that they finally let the world know these poor 5 explorers on the Titanic deal were dead today, because at the end of the day, it was the top news story all day today. I watched CNN, MSNBC. They were talking to everybody and their brother about that thing. Perfect example not to talk about these released transcripts from these whistleblowers. Now, and also we found out from the whistleblowers that there was a mole inside the FBI that was tipping off Hunter Biden as far as what they were doing, what they were planning to do. They had some more records they were possibly going to go get, and a whistleblower tipped him off so he could move them. Or not a whistleblower, a mole inside the FBI. I mean, folks, this is like, this makes banana republics look legitimate. Now, here's something you need to understand. Even though they've given Hunter Biden a plea deal for the 2 tax charges, misdemeanors, and the gun charge, which they're going to give him some kind of intervention program, and if he's clean for 2 years, it comes off as, he doesn't get charged, right? In the federal system, the prosecutors, the U.S. attorneys, and the defense attorneys can sit down and work out a deal, but it's not a deal until the judge approves it. A U.S. district judge has to approve the deal before it's a done deal. And I'm telling you right now, when they go before a judge in July to try to, put this thing to bed, this judge, if this judge has any integrity, is going to toss this deal in the garbage can. Another thing we found out today, remember how they said, well, this wasn't really such a sweetheart deal. Hunter Biden, he's got a clean record and, his first offense, and, nobody with a clean record would be going to jail for these things, which is not true, by the way, but that was the argument. Well, turns out Hunter doesn't have that much of a clean record. He's got some possession charges. He's got a few other drug-related offenses over the years. Big surprise, right? So this is not going away. And I can tell you tonight that there is absolutely, with the momentum this has and the legitimacy it has, again, if this is just a bunch of people taking guesses and whatever, I got it. But these IRS whistleblowers, these are career professionals that weren't like low level guys. These were like top level, IRS investigators, long time in the bureau. And by the way, found out something else that I got to be honest with you, I should have seen coming, or at least warned you this might be coming. Remember the other night I told you, on top of everything else, Hunter got his $20,000 monthly child payments cut down to $5,000 and the baby can't have the name. Well, that's not a done deal either. That was leaked by Hunter's lawyers. Because we now know that deal isn't done yet either. There has been no firm agreement. Hunter Biden's people leaked that to try to make that go away. Now, I got to tell you something, and I've said it a million times. If this guy with all his other trouble doesn't get that settlement on his illegitimate child, if he doesn't get that cleaned up, I mean, he's an idiot. Because, I mean, that judge is not playing games. And at the end of the day, no agreement has been finalized. And here's another case where the judge has to approve it. And the judge isn't going to just approve it because the two lawyers said, let's do it. He's only going to approve it based on the actual financial documentation Hunter Biden has turned over. And from what I understand, even with threat of being held in contempt, he didn't turn over much. You know, don't forget, Al Capone lived a life of crime, of every crime you could probably name for decades and decades and decades. You remember what finally ended Al Capone's run, don't you? Yeah, tax evasion. So Hunter's still in big hot water tonight. Joe's done tonight. There's no way they can continue to wrap. Now, the media can keep ignoring this all they want, but you know what? When these things are in federal court, you know, at some point, you just can't ignore that. And Comer and his people have got bank records for, I think, 4 more banks with 3 more to go. And I mean, these are documents. This isn't a he said, she said. These are documents. Here's who sent the money. Here's the circuitous route they sent it through all these shell companies. And here's where the money ended up. That's black and white, my friend. Either the money was sent and somebody named Biden received it, or they didn't. It's not a he said, she said. Now, I do not believe for a second that anybody named Biden is going to do a second in jail. Because if it comes down to a place where I could see a Nixon situation where they're going to come up with a reason why Joe's health took a turn for the worse. I mean, I don't know how it could be much worse than it is now, but that's going to be the excuse. Mark my words. Let me see. It's 11:23 on June 22nd, the year of our Lord 2023. Mark the tape. Joe's going to have some health problems that's going to cause him to not just drop out of 2024, but he's going to have to resign the presidency. And just be prepared. That means President Kamala, but her very first act as president is going to be to pardon Joe Biden, Jill Biden, his dirty sister, his 2 dirty brothers, and good old Hunter. They're all going to get pardons. Nobody's going to do a second in jail. There's going to be no trials. And you know what? In a way, that's going to be a fitting in to this corrupt family. All right. The spring offensive is over. Oh, I think, if I remember correctly, and people that watch this program on a regular basis, you might remember I told you the spring offensive was nothing but a money grab hustle. There was no spring offensive. It was over before it started, but they're now admitting, yeah, it's kind of over. All their spring offensive did was kill more Ukrainians. But they're already now starting to negotiate for the rebuild. Again, I told you when this thing started, the last chapter of this is going to be the big grift, the rebuild of Ukraine. You know, they started at like 400 billion, 600 billion. I think the last number I heard was like 1 trillion. Don't worry, it'll be around 2 trillion at least when they finally get going with this. But in the meantime, they're still fighting because the longer they keep the war going, it gives good old Zelensky that much more opportunity to raise more money. But it's causing people in Europe to totally turn on their leaders. A bright spot from this whole thing is a lot of the globalist leaders in places like Germany and Italy. Well, Italy flipped, but Germany and some of these other countries, they're very disenchanted with their leaders. They don't want anything to do with this war. Okay? And if you notice, you don't see hardly anything about this in the U.S. media anymore. That's because it was a scam from day one. A scam from day one. NATO, and listen, at the same time, I was reading a report tonight about NATO talking about fast-tracking Ukraine membership. If you remember, that's kind of the issue that got this whole thing ramped up to begin with. So you still got a bunch of idiots out there that could potentially get World War III going. I mean, I wish they would get to the rebuild grift, the final act. At least nuclear war with Russia would be off the table. And really, in the last month, the only thing Ukraine's really done, okay, they blew up the dam, flooding a bunch of Crimea, which is Russian control. They blew up a bridge the other night that leads from Crimea, that links Crimea to Ukraine. They blew that up. And today they came out with some U.S. intelligence that Russia might be looking to blow up the nuclear power plant in Ukraine. Well, we can't have that. We better send them a couple $2 billion so Russia doesn't. You see how this whole thing's working? You see how? Man, what a scam. So that's kind of where that is. All right. Let's talk about China, because we need to talk about China. We need to talk about China. Right now, I got to tell you something. The biggest issue we need to be praying about is what China is doing in Cuba, 90 miles off the coast of Florida, okay? Don't forget, war in the year 2023 is much more sophisticated than just shooting somebody with bullets, okay? Matter of fact, that's old school war, right? War today is what? Information warfare, cyber warfare, economic warfare, political warfare, disrupting elections, right? A form of cyber warfare would be an EMP attack. I mean, if you got China 90 miles off of Florida, they could shoot a very unsophisticated EMP missile and shut Florida down for months. Turn Florida into take it back to the caveman days for a month. Take out the computers, my friend, and that's what life's going to be like. It's going to be like going back to the Stone Age. You got China 90 miles off the coast of Florida, an EMP bomb could wipe out all the computers in Florida for months and months and months. And something that I continue to remind you of, when I started to warn you about what could happen in the 2020 presidential election, I clearly stated that if God allowed Joe Biden to become president, it would be a furtherance of his punishment on this country. It'd be a furtherance of his judgment. And I got to be honest with you, I humbly admit that was a gross understatement based on what we've lived through now for the last, 29 months. But think about this with me for a second. Every policy decision since Joe Biden has been president, when it came to China, every policy decision, every one, 100%, have been to the benefit of China and to the detriment of the United States. That's a fact. And one of the things I warned you about, that, the biggest problem with Biden as president would be the fact that he is a national security nightmare, because he is bought and paid for. But you know what? The globalists don't care, because they just want the whole world to be one big hodgepodge country anyway. If we had a real president right now, they'd be giving China 24 hours to get out of Cuba. If you're not out in 24 hours, we're going to take you out of Cuba. And then today, we get a former anti-Trumper that was in Congress, a congressman from Texas named Will Hurd, ex-CIA guy, by the way. He's going to run for president. I mean, why are all these people that have no chance getting into this race? They have no chance of, they have no chance even getting a delegate, let alone becoming president. But I told you, you got these globalists, Republican globalists, Trump-hating billionaires. By the way, Will Hurd hates Trump. Voted for impeachment every time. He hates Trump. So he's going to be another voice that they can put on TV. Basically, what they're doing is they're financing all the hate Trump voices. You got Christie out there. You got Will Hurd. You got Asa Hutchinson. And because they're quote-unquote running for president, they'll get on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Oh, you better believe it. And you will have a constant drumbeat of hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. Now, these people still don't understand that their problem with trying to take out Trump is the fact that they can't take out the 75 million people who voted for him. They may shave some of them off, but at the end of the day. So we've got Will Hurd. We got Will Hurd now out there. He'll just be another voice. Now he's quote unquote running for president. Another voice out there to go on TV every day, all the TV networks, and just another voice that hates Trump. DeSantis, man, I told you that he has basically his run in 2024, this was pre-planned 3-4 years ago. He had just barely become the governor of Florida for the first time when the globalists got their talons in him. And he just sucked it right up. And again, he was very popular governor of Florida, especially in the wake of his re-election last November. He is a hated man right now because, again, it's come out that, he had, this was all pre-planned. And he never should have run for re-election to begin with. People feel like they were scammed, and they were. Oh, by the way, he's got a big DC fundraiser tomorrow night at the offices of the attorneys for Dominion voting machines. Just to give you an idea of where some of DeSantis' money's come from. Oh, and another law firm that's part of this big fundraiser are lobbyists for the lobby that lobbies for children gender surgeries. Just to give you an idea where DeSantis' money's coming from. He's got money. It's rolling in. He can't get anybody to come see him. Oh, that's an interesting thing, too. Apparently, wherever Robert Kennedy Jr. has been going, it's not Trump-type crowds, but he's got some people showing up. When Christie goes anywhere, or any of these other DeSantis, normally where DeSantis goes, you got more people protesting him that are pro-Trump people than people there to see DeSantis. And of course, Joe, unless they pay people or force labor people to show up, he couldn't get 10 people in a room for anything. And we had India's Premier Modi today. He spoke to a joint session of Congress. We need to keep India in our pocket because they're about the only friend we've got left in that region, and with China and Russia teaming up. But Modi sees us as weak and ineffective too. Oh, and they had a dual press conference day. Biden called on one reporter, Modi called on one reporter. And of course, Biden, the one he called on, he had to read the guy's name off the card and read it wrong. And I'm sure on that card was the answer too. And it wasn't a real question. It was some obviously pre-approved question. Coming up in a couple of months, there's a major conference in South Africa by the what's known now as the BRICS. The BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And along with some of the Middle East countries, they're looking at trying to overturn the dollar as the world's reserve currency. I've been warning you about that for quite a while now. And that would be an absolute nightmare if that happened. In Michigan, good old Gretchen Whitmer. Don't forget her name. Because once Joe's gone, you're going to get a whole host of Democrats jumping in. And it's going to be interesting because without Joe, they're going to have somewhat of a real primary, which means they're going to have debates. The only reason they're able to cut off RFK Jr. so easy is because Biden's an incumbent president, and so he's got control. But if he's gone, they're going to have to open it up. This could become a nightmare for the Democrats. But whoever decides, of course, Kamala's going to run. She's got no chance. And then you got Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer. As hard as that may be to swallow, don't sell her short. Now, I do not think at the end of the day she can overtake Newsom. And they're going to do everything they can to get rid of Robert Kennedy Jr. But he's not going to go away like Bernie did. They were able to bribe Bernie. He's not bribable. See, that's what I'm saying. I've been getting a lot of emails, and these are legitimate emails. I mean, these are very legitimate emails. And they're asking, Bill, with all these indictments, with all these Republicans coming after him, with all the, foreign countries that don't want him, how is Trump ever going to become president? Well, let me remind you of a couple things. Just big picture. Number one, all things are possible with God, okay? Number two, God puts men in power, God takes men out of power. 2016, I think it was that sleazeball Peter Strzok told his lover Lisa Page, Hillary's going to win by 10 million votes or 20 million votes. Remember, Hillary was like a shoo-in. But God had another plan. Now, in a practical way, you get rid of Joe and you open the Democrats up, you're going to get a bruising primary, okay? Also, you got Joe Manchin out there talking about running as a third party. You've already got Cornel West running for the Green Party. Now, a little political history for you. In 2016, what did not get enough commentary, if you remember, Trump only beat Hillary by some 30-some thousand votes, okay? Very slim margin. And the states that he barely beat her that he had to have, like Pennsylvania and Michigan and a couple of these states, right? The difference was the number of votes that went to Jill Stein. She was the Green Party candidate. In other words, those were all votes that probably would have gone to Hillary. So Jill Stein, it didn't get enough attention. That was used in a big way, to get Trump in 2016. Well, Jill Stein isn't running this time, but she's the campaign manager for Cornel West. Now, Cornel West is kind of a nutbag, but the Green Party does have a following. Jill Stein has a following, and whatever votes they do get, it's going to be taken out. It's going to be taken from the Democrat. These are not people that would be voting for Trump. Same way with Manchin. If Manchin comes as a third party, so you might have one or two legitimate third parties. Now, legitimate, they can't ever get the nomination. They're not going to be president, and they're never going to get a huge chunk of votes. But if they take a couple million votes each, that's all it takes. So I'm just saying. I know, but don't forget, we've got to do our part. If we want to see God move that kind of miracle, we've got to do our part. Okay, and we got to get this country going back to God. Facebook just has one of their executives who just happens to be an ex-CIA person, heading up its election team. Isn't that nice? What I think it was just the other night, maybe last night, I told you that all these social media platforms, all the big tech platforms, they're getting all ready for the election, man. They're going to be censoring like you've never seen before. Adam Schiff and the Democrats, they have no shame. I mean, they actually laughed and cheered when Schiff was censored by the House yesterday. He shouldn't have been censored. He should be sent to jail. That's where he belongs. And for the record, he's only the 25th member of the House in the history of the country to be censored. So, I know he's out there raising money off it, treating it like it's no big deal. But, let me go back to Michigan. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought when I was talking about Gretchen Whitmer. She and the Democratic legislator of Michigan yesterday passed a new hate speech bill. 5 years in prison, $10,000 fine. Now, your natural question is, well, who gets to decide what hate speech is? Well, my guess is it's going to be Gretchen Whitmer. I mean, this is the kind of infringement on the First Amendment, man, that they're trying to shove it through everywhere. Greta Thunberg, that poor Swedish girl that has been used as a pawn for the whole climate change thing, She's having a bad week because she came on the scene a little over 5 years ago. And if you remember her speech, if you want to call it that, at the United Nations, how they let this little imp speak at the United Nations, I have no idea. Anyway, and she, I remember the speech, shame on you. You stole my life and blah, blah. You remember that little speech? Anyway, according to Greta, the world was supposed to have ended 3 weeks ago. Somebody needs to tell Greta, we're still here. To be honest with you, these climate change people like her and Al Gore, he's only been wrong 3 or 4 times, John Kerry, they remind me of these, these Christians that, think God told them when Jesus is coming back. He's coming back on June 13th at 12:15 in the morning and blah, blah, blah. And that is so foolish. Anybody does that, they haven't read the Bible. No man knows the day or hour but the Father. That's what it says. A top FBI official, listen to this, sent out an email to agents and basically threatened any agents who question January 6th will be harshly dealt with. In other words, if you're an FBI agent and you're questioning how January 6th is being conducted and handled, you will be harshly dealt with. They can't lose that January 6th narrative, folks. Or they can't, you know what they're really afraid of? I'll tell you what they're afraid of. Now with the whole, with the Durham report and everything out now, and the whole Russia scam that's just been laid bare for the world to see, that was all a big scam, right? I mean, that's exactly what January 6th was. And that's why they're using every lever in their power to hold that narrative. Because at the end of the day, January 6th, their narrative of what happened is just as much of a scam and a fraud as the whole Trump-Russia collusion scam was. And they know it. And they're literally at a point now where they're threatening their agents that do not question how January 6th is being conducted. And that was, he didn't mince words. Let me get this last piece in here because this is important. We don't have an impeachment of Joe Biden yet. We don't even have any, speaking of January 6th, we don't even have a House committee that's going through January 6th. Now you need to understand something. Because again, I got a lot of emails last night after the show about, why did Durham just roll over? That was his job to roll over. Well, how could that be his job? All right, listen. Let me explain this to you again. The Democrats, I'm sorry. They are evil and they want raw power, okay? The Republicans, they want money. Okay? They want money. So the Republicans are willing to pretty much let the Democrats do whatever they want. We witness this all the time. As long as they, get their little slots and can keep the game going. I mean, this is why they all hate Trump so much. This is what, because Trump puts the country first, not the institution of politics, not the Washington bureaucracy. He put the country first, and that's not acceptable because now he's at odds with both parties. The Democrats want power. Trump wants to give power to the people. The Republicans want money. Trump wants the people to get the money. If the we're over halfway through this 4-year term of the Republicans being in power. I'm sorry, 2 years. Let's see, they took over this year. So we're about 6 months. 6 months in. We got 24 months, so we got 18 months to go. We're 6, 18, 24, a third of the way. We're a third of the way through. We've only got 16 months more for the Republicans to be in power until the next election. Now, hopefully they hold on to power. But they've accomplished nothing at the end of the day. They really haven't. If the Republicans were serious, they would have had public hearings. They would have lambasted Durham in public and shown that he was nothing but a cleanup guy. And they would have put Bill Barr on the hot seat. These people would have been subpoenaed. If they don't answer the subpoena, you go after them for criminal contempt. And if they sit there and they won't answer questions, you give them immunity. You give immunity to people that you really need answers to. And then at that point, if they don't answer, they go to jail. But they should have, all these corrupt FBI people like McCabe and Strzok and Comey. Those people should have all been on the hot seat. Rosenstein, okay? All the DOJ people should have been in the hot seat. Brennan, of course, Clapper. These people should have all been under oath in public hearings. On COVID, we should have seen Fauci under oath in a televised hearing, along with the people like at Econ Health that he used to funnel the money. All those Peter Daszak, those people should have all been by now on TV under oath. And then you got the whole Biden crime family. They should have Hallie Biden. Give all them. They should have these grandkids that got money. Who cares? They used them to funnel their illegal money through. Sorry, you put them in the game. Of course, give them all immunity. They've got to answer. Put them on TV. Hallie Biden. Jill, the two rotten brothers, the sister. Put them all in there. Obama should be under oath. Okay? That's if you really want to get to the bottom of this thing. That's the problem. They don't want to get to the bottom of things. They just want the game to keep going. That's why the Republicans are going to be just as happy if Donald Trump ends up dying in prison as the Democrats. Trust me. That's why you get nothing accomplished with the Republicans. McCarthy, talked a big game, but at the end of the day, he's not going to let him. He's not going to let him, tear things down. Can't have things torn down. We all got to make money here. We all got to have our big contracts later with China and all these lobbying firms, right? And remember how I've always told you how incestuous D.C. is? I mean, the special counsel that's going after Trump right now, Jack Smith, his team, they would not divulge who was on his team because he's got probably a dozen FBI agents, a dozen lawyers from the Department of Justice, and probably another couple dozen investigators, all from the FBI, okay? Well, now that the charges have been filed and everything, he can't hide his team any longer. All these agents, all these lawyers, all these investigators, these were all people that were working on the Russia scam. They worked on the bogus Ukraine impeachment. They worked on January 6th. They were involved with the raid on Mar-a-Lago. They're now working on this Boxes case. And some of them even were loaned out to work on the New York indictment. And some of them have been working on the Georgia indictment. And on top of that, here's the best. Some of them have been in and out of the government and working with the White House too. I mean, you want to talk about just a cesspool of garbage. That's what D.C. is. Don't forget too what Biden said. This is a quote a video you're gonna start seeing more of on some media. Back in 2022, he said he would use the full power of the U.S. government to ensure Trump is never president again. Wow, that sounds like you're going to use the power of the government to stop your political opponent, Joe. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. If the Republicans were serious, if the Republicans wanted to play hardball, again, they would have public hearings, with Comey and Fauci. They'd have Pelosi up there on January 6th, the Sergeant of Arms on January 6th. They'd have the top people from the Immigration Department, why the borders are wide open, members of the Biden crime family. They would be impeaching right now already Wray, Garland, Mayorkas, and Biden. That's if they were serious. They've been in power 6 months, a third of the way through, and they've done absolutely nothing. And all I can tell you is between now and the next election, that's exactly what they're going to continue to do, nothing. I'm only praying that Comer can continue to at least bring records out that the heat can start being put on Biden. But as far as anything else, Durham was your classic example. He came in there not to put anybody in jail, not to hold anybody accountable, just to clean the mess up so it could keep it right on going. And that's exactly what's happening. And look at what they're doing as far as the whole cover-up of the Biden family. Unbelievable. All right, I got to get out of here. If you've never made a decision for Jesus, I'm going to give you a chance to do that right now, because at the end of this world, at the end of your journey, whichever comes first, you're going to stand before God, and at that moment, all that matters is, do you have a relationship with Jesus? If you've never made that commitment, pray with me now. Dear Lord, I come to you tonight asking you to forgive me of all my sins. Lord, I confess that I'm a sinner, and I believe in my heart and confess with my mouth that Jesus is my Lord, and tonight I surrender my life to you. Now and forevermore, my life is yours. In the name of Jesus, I pray. My friend, if you prayed and you meant it, the Bible says you're saved, not because of a few words, but because of your faith in God's grace. Have a book I'll send you, won't cost you anything. Drop me an email, bkeller@liveprayer.com. I'll get it out to you. Need prayer, email me, bkeller@liveprayer.com. All right, love and care about you. Have a great night tonight. Blessed day tomorrow. Lord willing, we'll be back here tomorrow night to clean the week up. 11 o'clock. God bless.
What problems are you dealing with in your life right now?
Do you feel like giving up? Times are hard and you're not strong. Well, I know the answer for you, and it will